Paul Downs started making custom furniture in 1986 after graduating from the University of Pennsylvania with a degree in engineering. His company employs 17 highly skilled, superb craftsmen, producing all of their work in a 35,000 square foot shop in Bridgeport, Pennsylvania.
So we're going to start with just a really brief introduction as to who the company is, what we do. And then we're going to look at how we sell over the internet, because I think that that's of interest to everybody. And then we're going to go through a bunch of different numbers about the business over the course of the whole 31 years. And then I'm going to go through a long list of things that sort of worked and didn't work, and that's going to be a ton of information packed into a short amount of time. As the introduction said, I started the company right when I got out of college, 22 years old, didn't know what I was doing, never had worked for anybody, never made a stick of furniture in my life. And it turned out that I was good enough at designing, having had a design education at Penn, and I'm pretty good at talking people into giving me money. So I was able to get the business going. And don't chuckle, because those are the two essential things to get a business going. You've got to sell something at the end of the day. And then one project, when I did it, changed my life entirely. Now, I didn't know this when we were doing this. This is a table we made at the request of a local architect in 1998. First boardroom table for a customer in Philadelphia. Google started returning this picture as the top search result if you typed in boardroom table to everybody in the world. They just did it one day. So my world changed overnight. And the calls that came in that week have never stopped. We get anywhere from 3 to 10 emails and calls a day from people who are looking for the boardroom table. And what I had just experienced, what could happen, which is a local business can become international. Because Google is unrivaled in its efficiency in connecting somebody who wants something anywhere they happen to be with someone who makes something anywhere they happen to be. It turns out that the gigantic custom conference table is really a perfect internet product. And what do I mean by that? First thing is, everybody knows what to call it. So it's not like we invented the concept of a boardroom table. And there's a lot of different ways to describe a conference table, but basically, people have a pretty good idea of what they're typing in. So we don't have to educate them of some new thing that nobody ever heard of. Second thing, everybody needs one. And there's just enough people who are looking for it to support a very narrow niche and a very small manufacturer like us. Nobody knows where to get it. Another thing that seems sort of obvious is that everybody knows how a table works. So we don't have to spend any time explaining how a table works. You just pull up a chair, you sit there. They're basically all the same. Nobody knows what it should cost, and this is really critical to keeping the business alive, that there's just no real information about what a custom conference table should cost, particularly not on the internet. It can be shipped. Now, the way to ship these things is to make them in a lot of small pieces and then pack them very, very carefully, because we don't have the luxury of pulling another one out of the warehouse if something happens in transit. And then there's also a high value per transaction in cubic. Each phone call, every single one before we close them or not, is worth about $4,000 in revenue to me. And our average job size is about $22,000. And this is for tables and credenzas and things. And then the last thing, and this is pretty important too, is the clients actually do pay their bills. Because we're delivering a very tangible object to people who had money to start with, or they wouldn't be in the business of trying to buy a big fancy table. It's not something that anybody needs. It's things that people want. So we've been paid for all the things we do. When I set up that first website, I had a very clear idea of what I wanted to show on it, and that was to show products and not make it about me. You need to give a good, rich, relevant user experience. And so we've continuing my theory that you want to show the thing. We just show a zillion varieties of the thing, so that no matter what kind of table you're looking for, you can find one on the site. You should take a careful look at what's on your site. Can I show more stuff and less about me? And can I make sure that I'm talking about what the stuff is so that Google's robots know what my site is about? That's very, very important. That's with this. So that brings me to what happens when someone calls or emails. What do we do? And this is important. So everybody's on the internet to buy something is comparing their experience, either explicitly or in the back of their mind, with going on Amazon. And that's the cutting edge of logistics and fulfillment. So our thing is that we respond to emails that we get within 60 seconds, and we respond to phone calls immediately. The person who's talking is talking to someone who's qualified to figure out whether they're a good fit for us or not. This is something that's a real challenge for smaller shops and smaller shop owners. But that immediate interaction is just really key in order to set up a good relationship with a potential client. We're responsive to client budget and time frame, and that means we have a way to talk about that with people. We have some pricing guidelines we can reveal with them immediately, and we can say, oh, you're looking for a table. The things we make are in the range of $350 a foot to $2,000 a foot, and put a number there in front of them and say, do you have that much money? And then the last thing is the people who work closely with the clients, my two guys, John and Nate, they're experienced woodworkers and have now been designing and selling for 5-7 years each, and they're experienced in all aspects of production so that they can make a recommendation to a client that makes sense not only from the client end, but from the shop end. So that's what we've done. Now, this is not something that's cheap or simple or easy to implement. If you're running around trying to wear 50 hats, it's hard to set up a sales process. But if you can manage to do it and to prioritize dealing with the clients when they come in, there's big payoffs in terms of the number of deals that you can do.